Hello fellow aviators, welcome back to the channel where we discuss all things aviation. Today we're in conversation with pilot Sibonelo Yeni. He is a recently qualified commercial pilot and his journey is quite intriguing, quite inspiring, motivating and moving. It's a journey of a person or a young man that aspired to enter the cockpit. A young man that decided to embark on a journey to chase his childhood dream, and even though there were years when he could not continue flying, even though there were years when he had to stay out of the cockpit, when he didn't have the funds, and there were so many barriers that he had to overcome. He kept going until the day that he got his commercial pilot license.
Welcome, man. Welcome, and thank you for agreeing to come.
Thanks for having me.
Where are you now?
I'm in Port Shepstone in KZN.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's a lovely town. I've been to Port Shepstone a number of times. Let's just jump into it. Perhaps you take us through the man we're talking to today. What makes him tick? You know, who is he, and stuff like that.
I'm a very humble person. I'm stubborn at times, but I think I'm passionate about when I'm passionate about something, I tend to pursue it. Yeah. Until I succeed. So yeah, I don't drink, I don't smoke. I never give up until I succeeded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to hear that.
Okay.
I can see that you are jealously guarding your aviation medical at all costs. So none of those habits.
I know a few people will be shocked when they hear this.
Yeah. All right. Now let's take it back a few years to when you started entertaining the idea of becoming, a pilot. What pushed you? What motivated you? What made you start? And when did you?
I actually grew up. I actually grew up in a village in a high flat. In that place, there was not any close contact with the aircrafts, the aviation itself. I used to see aircraft flying at high altitudes. I think maybe it was the route from Durban to Cape Town, because it's on the coastal side. Yeah, so I will see the contrails, and be like, hey, one day I want to do this thing. And I was still at primary. Yeah. And you know what I did?
Yeah.
When I got my PPL, I think it was my grandmother's unveiling. I did a fly past there,
Kudos to you, man.
Just
Kudos to you. That was awesome.
Yeah, to be myself, yeah, because I wanted to be in that moment where I used to see myself in, a couple of years later. Yeah, so it was a great moment. So I grew up, I didn't even know what it was. I asked my cousin for someone who flies planes. And then he told me that it was a pilot. So I took it from there. Always knew that I'm going to be a pilot. I had never been on an aircraft. The first time I went into an aircraft, I stepped onto an aircraft also when I was starting my training immediately after matric. And I had never been a passenger. But I was saying, I think that might have caused some delays as well, because I was stepping into an environment that I'm not very much familiar with, Yeah, and I had never been in a cockpit before. I've never seen controls, and the students I was with, they used to have simulators at home. I didn't have all that. I didn't have that luxury. But yeah, I did persevere, and then I got my PPL after 2 years. Initially, the plan was to do it full time, but then I didn't have enough funds. You'll find that while I was doing my training, I ran out of funds, and then stayed home for like 6 months and come back again. you had to recap on the stuff that I used to do, the stuff that we last did, and then continue. It was, yeah, it dragged on until I went solo, and then I think after solo, then solo consolidation, it became a smooth because I was only left with a few things to do. Yeah, then it became easier. I started in March, and 2 years later, in March again, I got my PPL.
Nice. Now, your story is typical of the ordinary African child, starting to follow this dream, working hard, financial challenges, flying every other 3 months or every other 6 months, sometimes, having the SPL expire on you before you renew it and go back again, But it's good to see that you persevered and you went on and on. Nice.
Yeah. I also had a similar problem with my CPL. Actually, well, with that, what happened was, at some point my exams lapsed because I didn't have funds to to continue, to build my hours and stuff, to continue with my training. When they lapsed, then I had to start over again. But then the energy was not, the commitment was not as much as I was initially, because when you're doing it the second time, you lack that motivation.
I know the feeling. Yes.
Yeah. But then I got them, and and I was pushing so hard now to get this to complete my training before they lapse again, because they were supposed to lapse in June this year, and then I was granted an extension of about, I think, 2 months or so. Yeah, but I ended up doing it within a month. Yes. Well, I was lucky enough. I was lucky enough to do my to do my 5 exams before the new syllabus came in. You remember that thing?
Yes.
Yeah, the syllabus
So that changed. Yeah.
I had so I was exempted from writing the instrument rating exam. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
No, I mean, those are the challenges we face in this industry. I mean, especially with the lockdown happening this year, it affected quite a number of people. But we'll talk about that as we go along.
No problems.
When you transitioned from high school to your PPL, what were your key subjects that you think assisted you in your training? I mean, an aspiring aviator out there, what subjects must they focus on to make their flight training manageable?
I would say maths and science. As much as it is not a prerequisite, but it does help you. It does help you to think like an aviator, in things, when it comes especially to theory, where you need to do calculations and stuff, and it helps you to think faster. And then there's also something that I noticed with geography. A background of geography will help you with the map reading and understanding of the maps. It's not that you need to have one, but just to have it. And then also English is well, it's a standard language in aviation. So you need to have a basic understanding of English, as a language. Not that you have to speak fancy.
But you must be able to communicate. Your radio work must be up to speed.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. All right. No, awesome. Now you pushed your PPL with those challenges there, paying for yourself, right?
Hey, fam.
Okay. Then you finished that. You moved on to night rating. You moved on to your CPL. Take us through that experience.
That's right. I finished my PPL, and then I had applied for a bursary that was meant to assist me with my CPL and night rating. what happened was there were some issues. We ended up not completing that training.
Yeah.
After I was kicked out of that program, I worked for like 5 years, and then after that, I went back to aviation because I've always had this thing that I have an unfinished business with aviation. Yeah. So after that 5 years of working experience, I started writing the CPL exams, and then they lapsed. Um, yeah, and then I was fortunate to get a sponsorship from the government, which helped me through my night rating and my hour, most of my hour building. And then when I was meant to do the twin conversion, I had some problems as well. Then I stayed at home for like 18 months.
Yeah.
Remember now, my PPL is gonna lapse. I'm gonna have to renew the PPL. Yeah, it's been a journey, man.
Yes. Yeah, no, I fully understand. I can relate. I can relate.
And you know what? The thing is, well, I will say the government is doing its role in assisting us as people who are privileged and disadvantaged. But now, I think maybe they lack in doing oversight, and monitoring and stuff.
On the
Because
implementation
you find that, yeah, they give up the funds, but then they don't check the progress like on a monthly basis. I would suggest that they'll check progress of the recipient or passenger recipient, maybe on a monthly basis or so, and follow up on how their funds are being spent. Yeah. So what happened was, before that 18 months that I was telling you about, the aviation training organization that I was with, hey, you know what happens with the funds, man?
Another challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was about to do a multi-engine training. I was about to do a multi-engine conversion. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I was told the computer crashed. So if the computer crashed, that means, well, the funds are missing, and all that stuff, and I couldn't take it up with anyone. I was about
aircraft.
Exactly.
Where the hourly rate is higher.
Yeah. And now, having done that, well, before, well, I was ready to progress into an advanced aircraft. Having done an instrument rating training on a single engine. Yeah. So that knowledge and the training that I've gathered and gained from a single engine, I was supposed to transfer it onto a multi-engine or a complex aircraft. So that never happened in time. So when I came back after 18 months, I had to start over, brush up a little bit. Yeah,
but you still held on.
Yeah. Well, at some point, the way I won't lie, man. There were some instances where I felt like giving up.
That's the point. The low point in your journey. I want to understand, how did you pull yourself out of the low point? Because we all get through these low points.
Yeah.
In the journey to aviation training, there's a point where you look back and say, "Who said I want to be a pilot? Do I really want to be a pilot? Am I not okay?
Yeah.
I am. Stuff this thing."
And then you think about, and then you think about what's for your life if you do throw it away. The regrets that you're gonna have. Because remember, I told you about my experience where I had to work for like 5 years, and still went on. I came back to continue with this particular training. Because I had that what you call this thing, unfinished business. Yeah. So I had that unfinished journey with in aviation.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I felt that even if I were to abandon everything,
Mm,
I'm still gonna regret it in future.
mm,
You know.
mm,
Yeah, and also what helps is to have people who support you.
mhm.
Emotionally and everything and otherwise.
Yeah.
Because even if it's not financial,
Mm,
just to motivate you. Because you're the one who decides
mm,
or who decides that you want to fly. It
mhm.
comes from you.
Yeah.
You know, but then, yeah, when you feel like things are not going your way, sometimes you need a little push. you know?
Mhm,
Yeah. And
mhm,
I really appreciate the instructors my instructor that I worked with.
mm.
He will give me a pep talk. When on days when I'm not having my best day. And it
Yeah.
happens. I hear it happens to most of us.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's what happened, man. Hey.
Okay. Okay. Now,
Yeah, and
you
I also
uh,
think it helps to be in an environment where you surround yourself with aviators as well. Because the experiences that they share,
mm,
that also helps you to look at yours and say, you know what, mine is not that bad.
mm,
There are some people who have way worse stories, bad stories than yours. Bad experiences.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. While we're on that point, you're raising two
Uh-huh.
interesting things that perhaps aspiring aviators should do. Number one is to build communities around themselves, your
Mm,
own community of aviators, people who are like-minded. Number
exactly.
two, you're talking about someone to guide you and mentor you. I always say to young people
Yeah.
that I'm mentoring that every individual needs one to be a mentor himself. You must mentor people. And number two, you must also be mentored.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because the danger of surrounding yourself with people who are not like-minded is that they may not see
Yeah.
the goal, they may not see the dream or the
Bigger
vision.
picture. Yeah.
And once they tell you, and
Yeah.
one negative is enough. One negative can take you out of the cockpit and you can stop this thing.
Mm,
You know.
yeah.
So, but I want to ask, or rather pose this question. What do you do then if, as a young person, you are trying to pursue a dream, which is aviation, but the people around you don't see that? In fact, they tell you, listen, you're wasting your time. Just go there and spend 3 years studying this, get a diploma, and you'll be fine. Because sometimes the people, our loved ones, or those close to
Mm,
us, may say these things, hoping and thinking that they're protecting us, that it is for our best
yeah.
interest. You know, I mean, how does
Yeah.
one handle that?
Hey. Um. Again, I had a similar experience where my training was dragging on forever, and people will say, if you did a 4-year degree, you will be working by now.
Yeah.
But then, but then you have to remember why you started. You know why you started in the first place,
Mm,
and then surround yourself with things that motivate you.
mm,
All the negativity, the negative energy that is around you. Try to take yourself away from that, because you cannot expect positive results out of an environment where, I'm not saying you should take yourself physically uh,
mm.
from an environment which is negative,
Mm.
but
Basically, they must learn to shut it out.
try to find,
Mm,
yeah, shut it out.
mm, mm.
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Now, that's an interesting
Yeah,
point. It's an important one also. Remembering always
yeah.
why you started. The
Why you
why is
started,
important, because that's what will
exactly.
sustain you during the dark stages of this journey. Because there are dark stages, quite a number of.
Yeah. There will be. I've mentioned a few,
Yeah.
and left out some.
How was your night rating experience?
Um, it was actually fun. I enjoyed it.
Mm,
I really enjoyed it. The night flying itself. It was fun. There was a day that well, at night that we flew with my during my hour building. Um, I took out friends of mine who are of Indian descent to well, we're flying along the coast, to see the fireworks display, and that everything. Yeah, on
Yeah.
what do we call this, on Diwali? Yeah, Diwali. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Very
a great
colorful day.
experience. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So it's one of those things. Yeah, man. I really enjoy. I actually enjoy flying at night more than during the day.
It is interesting. It is very interesting. Mm.
Yeah, and the training itself, it actually, I would say, it's better to have a night rating training, because now it 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 is like a first step into your instrument rating or instrument rating training,
Yeah.
if I may say.
Mm.
Yeah, it gives you an idea of what to expect when you're going to be flying in IMC and stuff, even though it's going to be VFR, but
Yes.
knowing and understanding things like ADF, VOR stuff, it helps, so that when you get into into instrument rating training, it becomes easier.
Yeah.
You have a background and understanding of it. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. And then you proceeded to focus on our building. Subjects were out of the way. Then you focused on our building. That's the most fun part of aviation.
That's the most fun part. And that part you wish it never ends. I was saying, when I reached my 100 hour, I was like, now I'm gonna have to fly a structured roads, if ever I get employed,
Yeah.
but the hour building was fun. To wherever I wanted to fly to, and in my training experience, I never got to fly into airfields where there's air marshals, and then and then in airfield, in the aerodromes where there's taxiways, different taxiways, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, etc. And then the ATC will tell you to exit on which taxiway and park on which parking bay and stuff. That experience for me, I felt like I'm becoming a professional pilot as well.
Sharing the airspace with the big boys.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great experience, man.
How did you handle the nerves? Because I remember my first time I did my hour building, and I was now flying into bigger aerodromes, with ATC, and I was coming from an uncontrolled airfield, with just one taxiway and one runway. And now I had to, follow a particular procedure and be given instructions on where to exit, and it was a bit challenging.
But you know what? I think one thing you should not be shy to say is that you're not even familiar with the aerodrome.
Confess who you are so that they can assist you.
Confess who you are.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just tell them, and they'll accommodate you. That's what happened with me at some point when I went to East London for the first time. I told them that I'm not familiar with the aerodrome, so I'll need assistance.
And I'm sure
it was easy, man.
That avoided a lot of embarrassing moments, because ATC was now aware that they need to offer you support.
Yeah. So I'll say confess, and then follow instructions. To the T. Yeah.
And do your proper flight planning as well.
Yeah. It helps so that you have an idea of what to expect. Even though you're not familiar with the aerodrome itself, but you know what to expect. Maybe if you have to enter fly past, like a 2,000 above ground level and stuff. All those things. Which one is an active, which one is not, and stuff. All those things. If you prepare for that, then the instructions, they just you just implement what you're being told, and you had already worked it out in your mind already.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it becomes easier. I'll say that.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Were you able to take family along, friends, as you did your building?
Yeah, I took my sister as well on the trip to East London.
Okay. Now,
yeah,
this is the thing about family. I want to see if it happened in your case. To your sister, you're just a brother, but that day you were commander of that aircraft. How did she handle that?
Yeah.
Well, was she sitting on the edge and thinking, "Are we gonna crash?"
Well, no, actually, I was lucky on that. Well, I think they were tired on that day. They never bothered me. The only one I was sitting with in the front, she wanted to know everything that was happening. I had to explain everything,
Wow.
Yeah. And whenever I was to do a radio work, I'll ask her to just keep quiet for a while, for a moment, and then I'm just gonna attend to the radio work.
Yeah.
And then let's proceed after that. She was an inquisitive person.
Nice. I'm sure she made
a good thing.
Very interesting.
Yeah, she actually wanted to be a pilot as well, but then she decided to be a doctor, a medical doctor.
Okay. Well, nothing stops her from becoming one in the future. I mean, we always combine careers.
Yeah, that's what I say as well. Yeah.
Okay.
I think you're also in that situation as well.
I combine law, academics, and aviation. Yes. So.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, I believe in this life. You must be whatever you want to be. There are no limits.
Yeah. So there's a possibility of a pro bono public, or if I may request.
Something along those lines. Unfortunately, there are no pro bono flights.
Hey, we wish, hey. Yeah. Hey.
I see. No, your journey seems to have been interesting. We've had the highlights, we've had the challenges, and they're common to most. I always say most African children, because I'm an African as well, and I know our struggles. And the whole point, we have these talks so that we can talk about our struggles without other people talking about our struggles. We need to tell our story.
Yeah.
Now, on to a more burning question at the national level. Last week or so, I was going through the statistics from CAA, focusing on the airline transportation pilot license. And I was just checking the racial breakdown, which is important in South Africa, because that's how this country was designed, to see how many ATPL holders are in a particular racial group. And the CAA statistics are very damning, because at the top of it all is the white male, followed by the white female. And then all the other groups follow in a very, very small percentage there, which talks to the fact that our cockpit is not transformed yet. The representation is not there. I'm sure you are aware of this, because as soon as you start training, you pick up these things. You see the reality.
Yeah.
What can be done by all players in society, by government, by fellow aviators, by other organizations? What can be done to improve the situation?
I think the government has to intervene. As to how, I'm not really sure. But also, well, there is a program that I've seen with government setup, where they help pilots to build hours for an ATPL, towards ATPL. I think that's a good initiative. We also have, we should also look into other aviators as well. They shouldn't say that once I have what I've been looking for, then well, they should give back. I would say,
yes.
By motivating, sharing their stories and experiences, and how we can, eat this elephant,
Yeah,
if I
yeah,
may say, yeah. Because in Zulu we say indlela ibuzwa kwabaphambili, yabo.
yeah.
Because we tend to not share. It seems as if you'll have a joint lined up for you, which is not the case. You still have to build hours. You need 1,500 hours, and those 1,500 hours, you have to break them down into
What type of hours?
peakers, and all those hours. I remember you had a discussion about that as well. So so I think they have to play a role as well. Other pilots, they have to play a role as well. And also, when the government intervenes, I think they should look harder into this thing, man, deeper into this thing. Yeah, I'm not saying they're not doing much. I'm not saying they're not doing much. I'm not saying they're not doing. Yeah, they are doing their role, but they have to do more.
They must do more. They must do more.
Yeah. They must do more.
No, I get you loud and clear, because we've been talking transformation for quite some time now, but the results are still not.
And we shouldn't be discussing this thing 20 odd years into democracy.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I get you. Which is why I really appreciate you coming onto this platform, because this is part of the giving back, part of telling your story, so that the next aspiring person who wants to go into aviation already has your experience and perhaps be able to avoid certain barriers simply by listening to your story.
Yeah.
And I must say the hardest people to find have been female pilots. In all the interviews
we're actually discussing this thing, and it's Women's Month. I only started noticing. It's not that I wasn't aware of it, but I noticed it more towards the end of my training. I was like, well, in the hangar, it's mostly males.
Men, yeah.
You don't see females that much. They come and go, but they're not that well represented in aviation. You start seeing these things at the school level, at the training level. How much more is it in an airline industry? So it's such things that we need to address as well. And also racial representation. I'll say. We also need to address those things. I don't know how, but the people we elect, we elect them because we think they'll think better. They have better ideas on how to solve these problems. If they fail, then I guess we should get some more better people to power.
True. I guess we need the government to move away from rhetoric and into action. Stop talking and start doing. Programs that uplift people of color, programs that uplift women. Because no one is saying we need to be favored, but we are saying there is a past. That past is a reality. By law, we couldn't enter into these spaces because certain racist laws were made, which ensured that it would be a criminal offense for you to try and even study in that direction. These things are generational, spread over generations. To reverse them, we need to apply enough force, in terms of funding, in terms of awareness raising, but also the very same people who are trying to uplift, once they've crossed over to the other side, they must give back.
No, that's true.
All right.
I was about to say that the awareness, we should also look into the awareness, like have aviation expos and stuff, spread across the country, so that people know about aviation that are in aviation. At some point, you'll find that you're chilling with people, and they'll be like, "This is my first time sitting with someone who's a pilot."
Yes, I've had that a number of times. Yes.
And you find it strange in 20-something years into democracy. This is, it's still it's still very rare to have a pilot, you know, in our neighborhood. You know.
Especially the rural child, you know, the village child.
Yeah.
I believe
It's
that the
very
village child in South Africa is very neglected.
exactly. In
Yeah.
any, like in most cases.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they most of them have never even seen or touched an aircraft, or even seen a pilot live wearing uniform, you know, in real life. Because we can talk about, let's say, children in the township, Kokasi, but that's in the urban sector, you know. All these informal segments are in the urban sector. The urban sector is closer to these things. Information actually flows there. They actually see aircraft.
Flows, yeah.
You know, but the rural child is totally abandoned. You know, and we need to take aviation to those spaces in order to start recruiting future pilots there.
Well, the list I did was when I was doing my hour building. I used to fly in the village mostly, and I will call them before I depart. You know, from the aerodrome that is closest, that is nearby. Yeah, so that they'll look for me in the sky. Yeah, yeah. And when I had that break of about 5 years. Whenever they see an aircraft, they will be like, "Hey, Sibonelo is flying there," and I'm like, "Yo, man, I need to finish this thing."
So yeah, that kept you longing to go back, and you eventually did.
No, yeah. You know, too much, man, too much pressure. But it was good pressure. Eh?
It was good pressure. Yeah,
I would say it was a motivation again. Yeah, good pressure. Yeah.
Nice. No, that was a very good initiative to actually direct your hour building flights towards the village. You know, do some low level passes so that the young ones can appreciate and see an aircraft. I mean, that's how you build future aviators. That's how you excite the interest in them. And well done for that, man. That's part of you giving back to society. It's commendable.
I still need to do more as well.
More needs to be done indeed. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm saying now that you're done with your training, you're probably focusing on pushing towards your ATPL and perhaps an instructor's rating.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The plan was to do my instructor's rating, but then I was also advised that it's better to do your ATPL because once you start with your instructions, there's barely time to do your ATPL exams. Yeah, to study. So it's best you have to have the ATPL exams out of the way, and then you can, well, in the process you can do the instructor's exams. You can. So once you are done with that, then you can focus on the hour building. You know, you have that thing off your back. You know, the exams. Then you can just build your hours, and I think that is my plan for going forward now.
You're still gonna be a busy man, and that's what the youngsters must know, that it's, you know, because piloting.
That is, man. I'm taking a month off. I'm just need to be very disciplined to study, but it's not easy.
I know. Yeah. No. No. That's quite interesting. As we wrap up, do you have any message you could give to young people out there? Someone in their matric wanting to become a pilot, or perhaps someone even much earlier than that, saying one day I want to be a pilot, or people already who've just started with their, initial PPL training. Any tips you can give?
Okay, I would say for anyone who's pursuing aviation training, especially training as a pilot, you will have your ups and downs, and always remember why you started. Always remember why you love this industry, why you love flying. I know you'll have problems, like financial problems, like I also had, but at some point with time things will work out. things will work out. I believe in God's timing. It's the God's timing. You know, when it's right, when it's the right time, it will happen. Yeah, and don't be terrified by the number of buttons that you see in the aircraft and think, no, this will be impossible to, you'll be taught everything. We all started from zero knowledge, and then we gained experience. We were taught a lot of things. It becomes second nature now. All those things. Well, with each aircraft, you are being trained how to fly it. So it's not that complex once you are trained in it. So it shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, if you have passion for it and you love it that much, I'll say go for it.
Awesome.
And they should seek advisors from people who are there, mentors and stuff, who've already been there. Yeah.
After all, as you said,
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. No, Sibonelo, thank you so much for pulling through and having this discussion with us.
No, okay, thank you, man.
We really appreciate.
I hope you have enjoyed watching that inspiring story right there. And if you have, do click the like button below. If you have not subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button below. And if you're one of our subscribed followers, we thank you for the support. It's the only way we can grow this channel. The more people watching, the more people liking, the more people subscribing. It's the only way this channel can grow and reach out to more aviators across the continent. And remember, with every hour, the cockpit beckons. So whatever you do, keep adding those hours. Angelo Dube signing out and saying keep safe from COVID-19. Until next time.